Well, hey y'all. Well, welcome back. So how is your day going? I hope it's going fabulous. I am just super happy with my garden right now and how everything's growing. I'm so excited about the measures that I took to protect everything, and I'm just thrilled to show you how everything is growing. So today we're going to chat about what you can plant in May. The list is short, but there's still some good things on there to know. And then we're going to take a tour of the garden, and lastly I'm going to chat with you about the fertilizers that I'm using this year, the different amendments that I'm having great success with, and I think you're going to love it, and it'll give you some little tips on some things that you can do, because as I've said before and I'll keep saying, you have to feed your plants. You have to feed your plants. You have to feed your plants. So let's go check out what you can plant, take that tour, and check out my fertilizers. If you've never gardened in Arizona, you are probably like, what do you mean you could even plant something in May here, because it is so stinking hot? But you can. And for this calendar, especially since we're getting into the heat, I actually kind of drew this information from about 3 or 4 different calendars to kind of give you a real broad sense of some things that you could do. So first of all, we can still do sweet potatoes and Jerusalem artichokes, but those have just got to be from transplant. And otherwise, we've got snake beans, okra, edamame, Malabar spinach, amaranth, which you can grow for the grain or the leaves. A lot of people have it as a salad replacement. There's cantaloupes and honeydews that you can still plant. Roselle hibiscus, which is what you actually get your roselle or your hibiscus tea from. Armenian cucumbers, black-eyed peas, basil, yard-long beans, and sunflowers. Now there's actually a lot of flowers that you can plant in the summer, but I put sunflower on here because you can grow, you're growing a snack. Okay, so if you want to know about the flowers, I can maybe put those in the direction or in the description, or put them down below for you in the comments. Now, if you're feeling like you want to take a walk on the wild side, there are some things that you could do if you did them just as transplants, and that's eggplant, jicama, pepper, pumpkin, winter squash, summer squash, tomatillo, and watermelon. Now the good news is all of the wild side plants down there, you can get those from Velarde Gardens. They've got an option to order those online right now. It's like a 4-plant minimum, and they even deliver. So as long as you meet the minimum, you can get delivery in most of the valley for $5. Some of the southern parts of the valley, like south of the 10 and the East Valley, the prices there are more like $10. Another thing I'll tell you is that Summer Winds also has curbside pickup. So you can either pull up and place your order, but I think they're trying to do all the transactions over the phone. So for these things, everything at the top of the list that we talked about, all of that can be planted from seed. But everything on the bottom of the list, I would definitely recommend using transplants to get your best success. And those are actually going to thrive also in the areas of your yard that get the most shade, that are your microclimates, that are not as hot as the rest of your yard, or areas that you really already have installed some type of shade to protect your plants. So I hope this list of what you can plant in May is helpful to you, and I just want you to know that even though the lists are going to be a little lean for us in May and June, we get a whole new planting season called monsoon season in July. And I've got a feeling that monsoon season is going to be really good this year, because we didn't have that long spring. So I feel like that heat is going to build up, and we're going to get all those awesome tropical rains and a whole new season of stuff to plant. So there you go. I went ahead and decided on covering the tomatoes up with shade cloth. They were doing fine, mind you, but my whole thing is that if I could bring the temperature down some and keep them from just surviving and actually get them to a point where they're thriving, then that's ideal. That's what I really want to happen. And so now I've got lots of flowers, and tonight they're gonna get a foliar feed. So that's gonna be quite lovely for them. And with our tomatoes, we're only watering these right now once a week, and that will probably increase to twice a week as we get into consistent triple-digit temperatures. But right now, as you can see, we're about to water, so there's some separation there in the bag, and this has had a chance to dry out, but there's no stress on the plants, and they're not getting overwatered, and everybody looks happy. This pepper is covering up with flowers. I mean, with peppers. I mean, there's still some flowers in there, but most of them are turning into peppers for us. So I think these are supposed to be Anaheim, but they never get really big. Love this little pool. These volunteer tomatoes. I'm tickling. I call this tickling tomatoes, because if you do this to your tomatoes, some people do it with a vibrating toothbrush, but if you'll go along and tickle those blossoms, it will really help with the pollination. And pollination's really only going to be taking place for us, you know, when we're in the low 90s or underneath that. And if I go back here behind the bed, you can see I need to get some stuff going, because this is one long vine already coming out the back side here. So that's okay though. We're okay. Maybe we might vine them up, but I think it'll be nice for them to stay over here in this cool sand, and there's nothing going on here. We got these awesome lights that are super fun. I'll try to show you what they look like after dark. This just kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like. But it's kind of nice because they give me a chance to be able to do some work in the evenings. And if you've ever gardened in Arizona, you know how nice it is to be able to work at night in the garden. So I just wanted to show you that. Now, this straw bale. So awesome, so phenomenal, and such a difference. We keep looking at pictures that I post on Instagram for reference, and things even from last week to this week have just really blown up in both of the beds. And so this is a Blue Hubbard, and this last year it didn't really get very big for me. I mean, look at that. It didn't do that well because it was too hot. It was getting too much sun, but huge leaves. And I really didn't pay attention to the fact that, you know, it's a climbing squash. So what I did to help it get over to the trellis is I used this rope. I kind of tied it down there towards the base of the plant and kind of wrapped it through until I could get it over here. And then once I got it here, then the plant took over and started applying, you know, its tendrils to get itself up. So every day these grow about 2 inches. It's just really phenomenal. And I'm gonna trim some of these lower leaves because I've got so much stuff tucked down in here. This watermelon's taken off. I've got beans. There's beans underneath there. I wish that this would have gotten along faster. I don't know how well it's gonna do, but that's a little cucumber. And then down in here, you know, lots of beans. Then this spaghetti squash is making a good journey up into the trellis. This is that's probably gonna bloom, I figure, tomorrow. And then hopefully I can get it fertilized. There's lots of beans in here. So it's kind of cool because the big leaves, in a way, block some sun from directional sun. But they also, you know, give some things to climb on. So here's another, and I just keep trying to go along and tuck these in and, you know, without breaking them, so that they'll just keep continuing up the vine. And once these tendrils find somewhere to attach, then they'll just be on the race. See, now down here I've got, now this is a squash that's getting eaten up by some leaf miners, but here's a bean that's about to come out, and there's some more stuff down there. So I might trim up these leaves. And this pumpkin is just wild. I mean, that's mostly a pumpkin. I can't think of what this is, but to us, the pumpkin and the Blue Hubbard are in a race. So every day we check to see where they are. And it's funny, it's like they know it because they're keeping up with each other. I got to fertilize this little guy. The beans over here are above the shade cloth now. The first generation of them. Now, and I've got beans down here that are blooming. There's tons of beans in here. And this is a vine. Oh wow, I need to turn this around and get it going up the trellis. But this one right here is another Blue Hubbard that got, I thought that they were gonna bush. And so they're not really bushing. But without me having to help it, it's actually getting itself over here on its own. So it's already came along and said, hey, I'm going to attach on here. And I'm just going to keep pushing these beans out of the way, and then they should be okay. And I'm going to get that one piece worked up. So I've got some more cucumbers coming in here. This is the only lettuce that I had come up. So I've got some more seedlings coming in here. And tomatillas are just looking great. So now we just keep fertilizing and getting ready for stuff to start kicking off production over here. My herbs are doing good. My sage, my rosemary, all of my lavender is blooming at different points. So I think that's awesome, and it just smells phenomenal. I need to remove this one and get it, preserve it in some way, you know, because this is going to have a lot of good smell. And the mint has really come back awesome over here since I've been getting a little bit of water on it every morning. I give everything kind of a little mist in the morning, mostly because I've got seeds, like seedlings on all the beds tucked in different places. So I think that's helping a lot. And got lots of flowers going on in here. This bag, this tomato still wants to stay on. That one not so much, but there's lots of good stuff climbing that's coming out of this bag. And we're just letting this cilantro go ahead and finish out its seeds over here while some ladybugs are finishing up their time. Our strawberry bed is just doing so awesome. It's doing so awesome that this, what was used to be a runner, is now making its own runner. And we're picking strawberries almost every single day. We pick 2 or 3 strawberries, and they're just everywhere with the prettiest colors. And one that we left out here a little bit long kind of got a little yuck from the dirt, so we've just been going along and putting plastic lids underneath them. So this is amazing. We are so thrilled with strawberries that we've got going on, and every day we're just keeping it covered up, and it doesn't even get, you know, the extra water that everything else does, and it just is awesome. I'm so pleased that I was able to get in here and deadhead all of these calendula, really kind of clean it up. You can see that there's still plenty that are ready to bloom, and this is like a 3-gallon container, and it's almost halfway full of calendula seeds. And I like to collect and work with my seeds in old pillowcases, so that's what this is. And you know, then if I need to stop working on it in the middle of getting it all separated, then I can just tie up the pillowcase and set it to the side there. Finally getting some seedlings to come up over here. Loofah is so slow to come up, and then it's like it's stunted because it's getting overwatered. But we're just going to keep tucking seeds until we can get this trellis just completely filled out. And same thing over here with this bag. Lots of new things popping up in there. Got okra, put 2 seeds put in here this week, so we're just trying to get those to come up. But otherwise, our okra is getting to where we can see it from above the rim of the bucket line, so we can see it over when we sit on the patio. So it's on its way to having a great life. Last year was the first year that we started using the Alaskan fish emulsion, and it's a 511, which is again your NPK rating, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium or potash. And I was looking at this weekend, and I think for the most part I've kind of been half dosing things forever, because this is supposed to be 2 tablespoons per gallon for outdoor vegetables, and I was doing the measurement for containers, so I've kind of been short shooting things for a bit, but it still has been a good thing for my garden. So I've got that, and then I got the Soil Diva. I showed you that earlier in the season. Now, I haven't used this that much more since I got my seedlings going, but I'm looking forward to using this for some foliar feedings. And right now, everything's doing so great, I haven't felt the need to try and treat or stimulate my soil any more than it kind of already is. And something new that I picked up a couple weeks ago is this Grow More seaweed extract, and I got this at Summer Winds. They also have it on Amazon, and I read amazing reviews about this on Amazon. And so what we've done with it is just a foliar feed, and we did that 10 days ago. So I'm actually going to do it again tonight. I've got kind of a misting sprayer, kind of pump sprayer deal. I'm going to go through and try to get the best coverage on the tops and the bottoms of all the leaves that I can reach. Now, after I did this 10 days ago, I promised that that was when all this explosion happened in the garden. But I am also rotating in feeding. So every 10 days, I'm doing fish or emulsion, because like I got this, my husband picked this up for me because I'm just a little mad for nutrients right now. So this is a fish and kelp fertilizer that's also got molasses in it. So what I did this week for this 7 to 10 day feeding on fish and kelp emulsion is I did 2 tablespoons of this to 2 tablespoons of the Alaskan fish fertilizer, and I did that to 2 gallons in my measuring container. And that still might not be right, because I'll have to do the math on it, but because I think for 2 gallons it should be 4 tablespoons. Yeah, it should be 4 tablespoons of one or the other. So that's why I did 2 of one and 2 of the other. And nothing has had a bad experience with it. But I'm loving this as a foliar feed. And like I said, I'm doing this again tonight. And then the other thing is I've been using Tony Serra. I've been using his fertilizer, and he's actually dropping that off for me tomorrow, but it's a once a month feed, and I fed everything for the most part with that last month on the 16th. So even though this is when he's doing deliveries this week because he's down in Tucson, I'm gonna hold on to it until the 16th, and I'm getting twice as much as I got last time because I was so impressed with how it helped my tomatoes. This way I can feed everything with it. So in his fertilizer, it's got bat guano, kelp meal, neem seed meal, molasses powder, magnesium sulfate, montmorillonite clay, volcanic ash, and mycorrhiza fungi. So it's full of just lots of goody stuff. He doesn't, his website's not all the way up right now, so you can find him on Instagram at just Tony Serra and the number 1, and he's also by the same nomenclature on Facebook. So those are some things that you can do. So like I said, for something like Tony's, that's a granular feed, you're going to do that once a month. And if you're using any of these fish or kelp emulsions, you can do those 7 to 10 days. And I highly recommend doing the fish at night because it is funky. But if you do it after dark, then there's almost no smell the next day at all. So I hope those tips helped. Well, I hope that you enjoyed everything that I've got growing in the garden right now. And I wish more than anything that I could share some of the strawberries in our garden. I'm so happy that I was able to finally pull that one off for my husband, because that has consistently been his #1 request, is that we could have a good amount of strawberries. And so I'm gonna do a video on that soon too, about the things that we did when we planted, the things that we planted. That way this fall maybe you can take some of those steps to get yourself going with some awesome strawberries. Well, I hope you're having the best day ever, and I hope that you're still planting and you're growing and that you're having the best day. And I'll talk to you next time.